I'm delighted to be here. I just want to acknowledge that we are on Noongar Budja, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We're here to welcome to you all to the launch of the Local Government Online Homelessness Hub, which is a collaborative project undertaken by Shelter WA in partnership with the WA Local Government Association and local government professionals to support local government's response to homelessness. We just want to say that the project has been supported as well by Lotterywest, for whom we are very grateful. To start though, I'm just going to introduce Auntie Dot to the stage. Auntie Dot is a proud Noongar elder from the southwest of Western Australia, from Kojana. And Auntie Dot is a survivor and a member of the stolen generation and was taken away from her campsite at the age of 8 months. Auntie Dot has been working in communities for 35 years and been proudly on the board of NAIDOC and Double Yarragon, and is a life member of those two fantastic organisations. She's currently doing a project with Wanjaning in researching into Aboriginal homelessness. Please make Auntie Dot welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I'm so glad to be here to do the welcome today, and thank you to the Shire of Joondalup for inviting me. I'll start off with doing the welcome. Kaya, hello, Wanju. Welcome everyone. Kaya Wanju Wajak Noongar Budja. Can you hear me? Kaya Wanju Wajak Noongar Budja, Nala Nala Budja, Nuni Jerapin, Nuni Court, Jerapin Wanganini, Nuna Court, Murich Wern, Wanju Nalak Jina Cooling Noongar Budja. Hello and welcome to Wajak Noongar country, our motherland. I am happy and my heart is happy to be speaking with everyone here today. May the good spirits keep you safe as you walk on Noongar country. And I'd like to acknowledge the Wajak Noongar people who are the traditional owners of the land that we meet on here today. And I'd like to acknowledge my Noongar people and pay my respects to our elders of the past, present and future. I value and honour and respect our Noongar culture as we are the custodians of our country, and this means we have responsibilities and we need to meet our cultural practices and bestow us with values of respect to the land and waters and all that is in them. I would also like to acknowledge today as we gather in this special place to continue our journey together and to recognise the strength, resilience and capacity of my Noongar people on our own country in which we stand here today. And I have a little short message from our Gender Birria Wellbeing Aboriginal organisation. It's an honour and a privilege to give the welcome today, representing our family, our songlines to this area and across WA as part of the Southwest Kinship Cultural Immersions and our other ECHO, Gender Birria Wellbeing Australian Aboriginal organisation, set up to support families to come together and to be part of building self-determination platforms. Working respectively together, I'm a proud member of the board for Gender Birria Wellbeing, and our family is well connected to this area. Our Gender Falcons program has many families connected to this country. We all welcome you here today to make a positive difference. We have been working in the prevention of homelessness space for many years. Sharon and the elders and the community have been driving for change for our community and with agencies, so we all have a safe place to belong and live Through connections to our land, water, strength, and pride in culture, we are finding our families stronger. Today, as we welcome you to this country, take a moment to reflect on how we can all do better. Respecting our elders past, present, and emerging. In Sharon's words, can we all remind ourselves to tread softly and take care of each other? And may we all be part of the changing the story to something we can all feel proud of for generations to come. Have a wonderful day together, and may the good spirit sit with you. May I now please invite up members who are receiving this message sticks from Southwest Kinship Cultural Immersions as an invite to join us in the future. And thank you very much for taking the time, and hopefully we can all join together and all be one. And we have the message sticks, Michelle. Oh, yeah. We'll give you one. Yeah, we'll give you one. Hmm? Oh, you model on the front.
Well, thank you so much for that welcome. I'm just going to outline a little bit of the order of proceedings today. There's a few things on the menu. We're going to hear first from the Honourable John Carey, MLA, Minister for Housing, Homelessness and Lands. We're going to then look at a short video outlining an introduction to the hub. We're going to hear from the fabulous CEO of Shelter WA, Michelle McKenzie. I have to say fabulous all the time now, Michelle, because we're in a festival of Michelle McKenzie as she winds up her role as CEO of Shelter. We're then going to have the City of Joondalup Mayor, Albert Jacob, and the City of Wanneroo Deputy Mayor, Brett Treby, to launch the City of Joondalup and City of Wanneroo 2022 Regional Homelessness Plan. And then there'll be a Q&A, a bit of a discussion on the hub with Tony Brown from the WA Local Government Association, Candy Chu from the Local Government Professionals, and the fabulous Michelle McKenzie from Shelter WA. So I'd just like to now invite the Honourable John Carey, MLA, Minister for Housing, Homelessness and Lands, to the stage. He was elected as the State Member for Perth in March 2017 and was appointed Parliamentary Secretary to the Premier, Mark McGowan, and later Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Transport and Planning, where he assisted in driving planning reform with a particular focus on cutting red tape for small businesses and households. In his first year as a Member of Parliament, John hosted the Perth City Summit with 350 attendees to develop strategies and projects to drive positive change in the city. And he's worked since then to implement many of the summit's recommendations, including securing a new university campus in the city as part of the $1.6 billion Perth City deal, major new cycling infrastructure, and working to abolish alfresco fees for city businesses. Following the return of the McGowan government in March 2021, he was appointed the Minister for Housing and Local Government, and in December 2021, was appointed with additional portfolios of lands and the newly created portfolio of homelessness. Thank you, Minister, for taking the time to speak.
Thank you, Kieran, and also thank you, Auntie Dot. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. It's fantastic to be here today to help launch this new homelessness hub. But before I do that, I do want to reflect on a short conversation that actually quite a significant conversation that I had yesterday with someone who was sleeping rough. I'm deeply proud to be the first minister in our state's history to be the Minister for Homelessness. And in that time since December, I've been going out and engaging as many organisations as I can. But yesterday I was out with the St. Pat's crew, which is part of the Street to Home and Heart teams, which the state government helps fund. And after doing a walkthrough, I went to the breakfast and just sat down and was introduced to a woman who had recently come off the streets after rough sleeping. And there were two things in that conversation that really struck and reminded me of homelessness. And I was deeply honoured that she was prepared to share her journey with me. The first was that homelessness can happen to any of us. She had had training in Queensland in hairdressing, had career prospects, and then moved over to Perth for family reasons. And then things started to change and there was breakdowns in families. And then through that course of action, she ultimately ended up being homeless and remained homeless and then went into a cycle. And that reminds me that it happens to anyone. But the second part is that we should never give up on homelessness. I think there are those, and maybe some of my political colleagues in Parliament, that believe that we cannot systematically end rough sleeping. I do believe we can. And this woman told me that she was able to turn her life around, was able to overcome a meth addiction, that she was back on a journey of reclaiming her life and getting into that transitional accommodation in St. Pat's was the first step. So I want to assure you, as the Minister for Homelessness, I sincerely and absolutely believe that we can overwhelmingly make significant gains in tackling the issue of rough sleeping in our communities. As a state level, I want to assure you this, we are doing everything we can. As the Minister for Housing, I'm trying to use every lever I can to accelerate the delivery of social housing, recognising that we are in the tightest construction market that we have seen for decades. But we are doing everything from using vacant housing, timber frames, modular, whatever it takes to accelerate the delivery of social housing, 3,300 new homes as part of our record injection. But on the homelessness side, we're looking at how we can do better, how we can leverage from our huge investment to actually make significant gains. And I want to say this, the focus of homelessness and the 10-year strategy, which was co-designed with the sector, is housing first. And at its heart is this very simple principle, that if we want to end the cycle of rough sleeping, we need to assist people to get off the street first, assist them into accommodation, provide them permanent housing, and then provide the intensive wraparound support services needed, whether it may be for the deep trauma of living on a street for a very long time, whether it is mental health, drugs, alcohol, other addictions, whatever it may be, so that we can sustain that housing. Now, that is the focus of the Housing First approach. That is the focus of the new funding that we have provided. And this is why I want to come to the hub, because what is very clear is that we have incredible goodwill in the community. Everyone wants to help on homelessness, but it is a very difficult space to navigate. And the first inclination isn't always the right inclination. So we want to focus on housing first. We don't necessarily want to focus energy, time, and efforts into goods distribution or those things that actually ultimately and ironically can sustain rough sleeping on the street. So it is because of this that I welcome this hub, because anything that helps organisations to navigate this path, to focus on the efforts that we need to do to end rough sleeping is critical. I also want to thank those local governments that are prepared to enter this space. Not all want to. And in fact, recently we've seen one local council that is making it harder to open homelessness facilities and voted against a homeless facility relocation. That's not the direction we want to go in. So I applaud Wanneroo, I applaud Joondalup for working together to create a clear plan for homelessness. It is the state's government responsibility to accelerate and do everything it can in housing, but it is a collective responsibility of all tiers of government and our community to help the most vulnerable people in Western Australia. So again, congratulations Shelter WA, congratulations LGPro and WALGA, and thank you to the local governments like Wanneroo and Joondalup who are prepared to stand up and assist rough sleepers in their local communities. Thank you.
Acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which this video was recorded, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We acknowledge their ongoing connection and to the waters, lands and community, and we pay our respects to elders past and present and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people watching today. Funded through Lotterywest, Shelter WA, in partnership with the WA Local Government Association and Local Government Professionals WA, is proud to launch the Local Government Homelessness Knowledge Hub. Acknowledging the reference group of local government practitioners from the different local government disciplines, peak bodies including WALGA and Shelter WA, and the local government professionals' guidance and advice to inform our hub's content. The resources on the hub can be found via a search or navigation. Our hub resources are categorised so users can search more broadly. Search by the type of resource, a subcategory, or the local government who owns them. A more refined search can be done with all filters. As well as searching for specific resources, you can view all resources, advocacy information, or education and training. While in resources, you can view all or search with specific parameters. Local government can contribute resources at any time through the upload form. You simply contact Shelter WA for the password, upload your resources, and wait for them to be reviewed and published. The advocacy page gives users an introduction to local government-led advocacy, including information on understanding state and federal government, prioritisation, messaging and communication, organisational capacity, partnerships, community activation. It also has links to advocacy toolkits. As well as advocacy information, the Hub features an education page with helpful links, news and events and training. This includes links to state, national and international information on homelessness. The Hub also features information on the project, local government's roles in preventing and ending homelessness, current stats and trends, and the drivers of homelessness. This hub is a place for local governments to share information and to inform evidence-based homelessness solutions to end homelessness in line with local community needs. This information supports elected members and also staff who work across a range of functional areas such as urban planning, community safety, community development, libraries, recreation centres, customer services. It allows staff to set policy, strategy and good practice based in the evidence of what is needed to end homelessness. The Local Government Homelessness Knowledge Hub, bringing together resources to support and equip local government to help end homelessness in WA.
Thank you. I'm just going to introduce Michelle McKenzie, who became the CEO of Shelter WA in 2018. Michelle has a passion for social justice and is passionate about working collaboratively, facilitating the alignment of government, industry, researchers and the community sector to design and deliver an affordable and effective housing system. Prior to Shelter WA, Michelle was an executive director at the Department of Regional Development and led the regional community relations team at Rio Tinto. Michelle has worked in local government as well. She was the executive manager at WALGA under the leadership of Ricky Burgess and worked for a number of years at the town of Port Hedland, managing community and cultural services. So please welcome Michelle McKenzie.
Yep, sorry. Thank you, boss. So thank you, Kieran. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today. I feel like I've come home back to local government. I'd like to acknowledge that we're on the land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. The Minister for Housing, Lands, Homelessness and Local Government, which is a pretty great portfolio. Mayors and presidents, councillors, CEOs and everyone in the room. The genesis for this project has been a labour of love. It started about 4 years ago with an amazing group of local government professionals who wanted to collaborate on how to better understand and address homelessness in their communities. We established a reference group and a partnership was formed with WALGA and local government professionals to develop this hub. This reference group has been absolutely pivotal, and put your hands up if you're members of the reference group. I can see MJ from Rockingham, Jude from Mandurah. I can't see the other people, but I know that you're here. And to have that reference group with staff from community development, libraries, town planning, public health, community safety, that expertise from different disciplines was absolutely critical. And I want to thank you all for your work and for staying the course. And also I'd like to thank the City of Joondalup. We had a secondee over, Erica Everett, who can't be here today. She's in Canada visiting family, and having someone from the sector seconded to Shelter really helped with this project. Front and centre to all discussions on the hub was that each local government is different. We know that, you're all very special, but councils set their own priorities and strategic direction, and any resource needed to respect this and facilitate local decision making. But underpinning our approach was how could we harness the legislative environment and the opportunities afforded to all local governments to make a substantial difference through their local government planning frameworks, their subsidiary legislation such as public health, planning and development, etc. As the Minister said, the evidence of how to end homelessness is compelling. Local data and good evidence, good social and affordable housing options and sustainable funding and a coordinated service system that puts people at the heart and responds to the evidence. And the hub is designed to support councils understand the drivers of homelessness and, as the Minister said, centre that response in the good practice. So what we've done is we've pulled together some great examples of where councils have utilised the levers at their disposal to both prevent and end homelessness. So, for example, here at the City of Joondalup, fantastic frontline training for staff on how to take a compassionate approach. MJ down at the City of Rockingham, partnering funding with a local community service to support outreach workers in their local community, sensational. And these approaches while different, have worked well where they have leadership through council policy. So the elected members, you guys don't get off, very important, along with a strategy, an implementation plan and a budget. And of course, we all know housing is key to preventing and ending homelessness. And as the hub develops and grows, councils will continue to do great things. So the launch today of the City of Wanneroo and Joondalup's regional strategy is fantastic. And I want to congratulate you guys. And hopefully with your permission, we can upload it onto the hub. And many of you would be aware just down the road, the City of Stirling have a draft affordable housing policy out for review. It's got mandatory 12% social and or affordable housing in new multi-residential developments in key strategic areas around the Stirling train station and the Glendalough precinct. So local government's ability to facilitate more social and affordable housing in local communities is critical. And again, if that policy is adopted, up it will go onto the hub. So we hope that by bringing together these examples of good policy and practice from a range of local governments within an evidence-based context, we can stop councils going down rabbit holes. And as the Minister said, you know, managing homelessness as opposed to ending homelessness through their actions. One of the features of the hub is a training package tailored for local government, and it's been designed so councils can do it in-house. But for a modest fee, shameless plug here, Shelter WA is always available to support you if you want to undertake that training, and we would be delighted to work with you. Through our consulting arm, Shelter Consulting, we've just reviewed the City of Victoria Park's homelessness policy, and it was wonderful to work with elected members and staff from the council on this review. And it was great. It brought together our expertise in homelessness and their knowledge of local government, a marriage made in heaven. So look out, if you're very interested in this, contact Shelter WA and we'd be just delighted to partner with you. So as Kieran said, having worked in local governments and at WALGA for many years, and I'd like to acknowledge the WALGA people here in the room, I know the power of local government to do good and drive positive change in their communities. So once again, I really like to thank WALGA and local government professionals, in particular Candy Chu. So round of applause for Candy. CEO of Local Government Professionals, and Vicky Barlow from WALGA. Round of applause for you, Vicky. There you are. And all of the members of the reference group who stayed the course over the 4 years when we had no money and we just muddled through this together. And when Lotterywest came through and gave us a modest amount of funding to develop the hub, we were just really thrilled. We hope this is of use. We hope this is of value. And I look forward to working with you moving forward. So thank you. The little baby is born.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm going to invite up now the City of Joondalup Mayor and the Deputy Mayor of the City of Wanneroo, but I'm going to read some bios first. So you've got a few minutes, folks, to stay in your chairs. Over the past, I'll start. Over the past 15 years, Albert has served the community as a local government councillor, a Western Australian member of the Legislative Assembly, a Western Australian Cabinet Minister, and now serves as the Mayor of the City of Joondalup, one of the largest local governments in Western Australia. Albert is a qualified and experienced arborist and has a master's degree in architecture. Albert, sorry to hear that actually, as an architect myself, that seems like a great double, arborist and architecture. I only have one, but I wouldn't mind the other one. Albert is also a graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors, re-elected in 2021 for a second term as Mayor of the City of Joondalup. Albert now leads one of the most significant local government municipalities in Western Australia, with a population of over 160,000 residents and $1.8 billion in assets across an area of over 100 square kilometres. Deputy Mayor Brett Treby was elected to the inaugural City of Wanneroo Council in 1999 and subsequently re-elected in 2001, 2005, 2009, 2013 and 2015. Brett has a special interest in economic development, strategic planning, active citizenship and community engagement, and family-focused sporting and recreation facility development. Brett's priorities are balancing the Wanneroo's area's rich history with urban growth and the delivery of significant community facilities to cater for the City of Wanneroo's rapidly growing population. Brett represents the community on the Tamala Park Regional Council as Deputy Chair and Chairman of the Management Committee, and continues to work with numerous community groups. He is chairman of the Hepburn Centre Board and has served on several local school councils and been involved in industry representation as trustee of the Institute of Public Works Engineers Foundation Australasia and chairman of the Metropolitan Regional Roads Board. Right, I'd like now to invite City of Joondalup Mayor Albert Jacob and Deputy Mayor Brett Treby of the City of Wanneroo to launch the City of Joondalup and City of Wanneroo 2022 Regional Homelessness Plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I begin by acknowledging, if I may, that we are here and just behind us is Lake Joondalup or Yelagonga or Muru country, land that has been home to the Whadjuk people for over 400,000 years. And I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land that we are meeting on today, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to elders. Can I also acknowledge fellow elected members from the City of Joondalup who join us, including Councillor Adrian Hill, Councillor John Raftis, Councillor Nige Jones, and also our CEO, Mr. James Pearson. To elected members from across the region, I can see Mayor of Stirling joins us here today. Thank you, Mark. A number of City of Wanneroo councillors and also the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Brett Treby. Importantly today, the Honourable John Carey, the Minister for Housing, Lands, Homelessness and Local Government, Talani Chopping, the Director General of Local Government and Cultural Industries, Emily Hamilton, MLA, Kieran Wong, Chair of Shelter WA, and members of the JWEG Homelessness Group, and of course to Nan Dot. I'm pleased to be here this afternoon to launch the homelessness plan alongside Deputy Mayor of Wanneroo, Councillor Brett Treby, and a big thank you to Shelter WA for organising today's event, and congratulations on the successful launch of the local government homelessness knowledge hub. I'm confident this hub will assist elected members and local government officers to navigate this complex and growing issue of concern in our local community. Of the 370,000 people that live within the boundaries of Wanneroo and Joondalup, statistics show that more than 1,800 people are experiencing some level of homelessness. Anecdotal evidence shows that many people who are experiencing homelessness will use public transport to access support services, amenities, and importantly, areas to be considered as safe. Areas such as Joondalup and Wanneroo. Cost of living pressures and a shortage of rental accommodation are likely to lead to an increase in the number of people experiencing housing stress, insecurity, and ultimately homelessness. The theme for Homelessness Week 2022 is to end homelessness, we need a plan. And I'm proud to say the cities of Joondalup and Wanneroo have a plan, and we have a plan together. The cities are working closely with the Joondalup Wanneroo Ending Homelessness Group, or as we like to call it, the JWEG, to review the previous iterations of our regional homelessness plan. JWEG, as many of you would know, and many of you are here today, and thank you for the work that you have been doing, are an intersector coalition led by the Australian Red Cross. I want to today acknowledge the amazing work that this group has done for many years now in responding to homelessness in this area. The 25-26 homelessness plan retains many of the goals and focus areas from our previous version, including its 3 pillars being building community capacity, understanding and engagement, prevention and early intervention, and also responding to homelessness. It's this framework that will guide our city's responses to homelessness, and importantly, it includes milestones, deliverables for each action. Local government is the level of government closest to the people, responsible for the well-beings of our community and the provision of infrastructure, services and regulation. We recognise that a whole of community response is required to reduce and prevent homelessness and minimise the impact of homelessness on families, individuals and our community. Our role is one of coordination, support and to some extent advocacy in collaboration and partnership with state and federal governments, neighbouring councils, homelessness support services and community organisations and other relevant stakeholders to ensure that people experiencing homelessness are provided with effective and a coordinated response. It is a complex issue and access to housing is a basic human right. It's an honour to launch this plan during Homelessness Week and at the launch of the local government Homelessness Knowledge Hub. And we look forward to learning what other local governments are doing in this critical space. My thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Albert. And if I could just acknowledge Auntie Dot for that wonderful welcome to country, and the message stick has I love message sticks, and there's one message on this that I think speaks volumes. Together respectfully, I think that's a very strong and powerful thing to say on the message stick, and I think it's very applicable today. So thank you very much. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging who have walked and cared for the land. I acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contributions made to the life of this region. I too would like to acknowledge the Honourable John Carey, MLA, Minister for Housing, Lands, Homelessness and Local Government, City of Wanneroo Acting CEO Harminder Singh, and my fellow councillors, Frank Savitten, Natalie Herridge, Jackie Huntley, Glenys Parker, James Rowe and Jordan Wright. I'd also like to acknowledge Mayor Mike Irwin from the City of Stirling. And we have a couple of CEOs from local government as well. John Christie from the City of Belmont and Peter Mabbs from the town of Bassendean. If I could also just acknowledge Shelter WA Chairperson Kieran Wong, my very good friend Janine Wood from No Limits Perth, the chairperson. And it's also fantastic to be here and share in the general festival of oh gosh, I forgot her name. It's killed me now. Michelle Mackenzie. Honestly, she will never let me forget that. Michelle and I have known each other for a very long time, probably longer than she cares to remember. Gosh, that's going to be a worry. That'll get me. I'm privileged to support the launch of the second iteration of the Regional Homeless Plan today. It's a very important initiative of both the cities of Wanneroo and Joondalup. Oh. I'm extremely proud of the work that has been undertaken in undertaking this plan. It is unsettling, the thought that on any given night, approximately 9,000 people are experiencing homelessness in Western Australia. Access to housing is a basic human need, and it is important that we work together as a community to tackle what is becoming an increasing problem in the Northern Metropolitan area. Our city's shared journey in the homelessness space has evolved over the past 10 years. The adoption of the previous plan 3 years ago has been a highlight of this partnership. Through the previous regional homelessness plan, we formed key partnerships that helped local people transition out of homelessness, supported agencies to ensure food relief and services are available across the Northern Metropolitan area, and collected data to inform and support advocacy efforts. This important work will continue through the updated plan, which has a greater focus on advocacy. Social advocacy is in particular for the homeless support and accommodation services is a priority for the city. This month, the City of Wanneroo will consider our social advocacy priorities to help deliver transformational and impactful change for the city residents. The key focus of the agenda is to ensure our community has access to vital services that support improved quality of life and well-being. While the city may not have a role in direct service delivery of the identified priorities, we have an important role in advocating for these services to be available throughout our communities. With rising cost of living and scarcity of rental options, the number of people experiencing homelessness, from sleeping in the street to couch surfing to living in overcrowded houses in both cities, continues to increase, and we are now facing a critical junction. Addressing this complex issue requires a collaborative, whole of community response, including from government-funded specialist services, community organisations, private industry, and of course, local government. Our cities have a responsibility to act decisively and constructively on homelessness in our region, and we are committed to working together to help provide support to those in need. Together, through coordination, advocacy, and support, we can increase community awareness and understanding to ensure that people are treated with dignity and respect, and most importantly, focus on early intervention and prevention measures to help reduce the likelihood of homelessness in the first place. We need to adopt appropriate strategies and actively engage relevant stakeholders to develop long-term strategies for preventing and responding to homelessness now to have a long-lasting impact for the future. I'd like to thank everyone involved in the development of the plan and for their contributions. In particular, I'd like to thank the Joondalup Wanneroo Ending Homelessness Group and their chairperson, Carey Larson. The contribution of all members on this group is fundamental to improving outcomes for people experiencing homelessness and hardship within our region. While there is a long way to go, I look forward to continuing work with our partners to progress this very important work. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Brett and Albert, and congratulations on the update of the Regional Homelessness Plan. It's a fantastic document and fantastic achievement. I'd just like to invite now Michelle McKenzie up to sit on one of these chairs over here, Tony Brown from WALGA and Candy Chu from Local Government Professionals to the stage. And we're going to open to the floor. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. We've got a microphone roving, or you're just going to stand up and, I think you can stand up and talk. We can probably hear you. If there's any questions in relationship to the local government homeless, oh, we do have one, great. Homelessness Hub. Would anyone like to kick us off with a question? I have one, but I was going to save it. Okay, we'll start with me then. How's that? One of the things that I'm curious about in relationship to advocacy is where you think local government's most effective use of advocacy would be in this space. We've done, I mentioned before as an architect, we've done projects like homelessness shelters, drop-in centres, needle exchanges, and actually we've always found local government to be great supporters of the work. And it's been very difficult to then translate some of that support into a kind of wider public support during, say, advertising period. There's some constraints around what local government can say in relationship to, say, planning applications. So I'm just curious to what you think about the role that councils can play, local governments can play in a kind of proactive sense, advocating for this type of work.
Thank you very much. I think, well, local governments can play a huge role in advocacy in this space, and I think they're starting to do that a lot more in the last couple of years. Certainly, strategic partnerships with all of the agencies is super important, and advocating and working with those agencies. I think local governments are prepared to do and want to do, and is the key to how we can work forward. So I think it's advocacy, but really importantly, the strategic partnerships with all agencies, whether it's government, not-for-profits, everyone.
Yes, for everything that Tony just said, I think a big part of that is also recognizing the state-local government partnership agreement that was signed a couple of years ago, and recognizing the importance of state and local governments working together on these really important issues. I think local government's also got a really important role in representing your community, in advocating for what's important to your community. Every community is going to be quite different. I think one of the things that we recognize as we were working through this project, even though the website is the outcome that you see, one of the really rich outcome of the project is through the various local governments involved with the working group, the conversations that they have between metro and regional, between large and regional and large and small local governments, the richness of the conversation, the knowledge that was already shared within those groups, besides what you see on the website, is also the spirit of collaboration within the sector. All of that is going to be really important advocating for this issue.
And I'll just add leadership. So the Minister alluded to the City of Perth and their decision in relation to one of our members, the Ruhr Centre. So I think part of it, Kieran, is staying fast and holding the course. So the evidence is compelling. And when you've got residents who may be a little bit concerned about something in their local community, I think it's up to local governments to step up to the plate and to actually provide really good evidence-based, mature, non-hyperbolic information to communities. And when things get really tough, don't bend, because as a representative, democratically elected local authority, you owe it to your community to do the right thing. So I think that's just as important. So when times get tough, the tough get going. Brett.
Thanks. We've got a question just here.
Thank you very much. Paul Miles from the City of Wanneroo, Councillor. One of the questions that I would have, it was actually something that John mentioned in his speech at the beginning. And I think it is important. It's great that we've got the hub for everybody to access. But one of the issues that I can recall, and it's still going on, is the good nature of the everyday person in the suburb who wants to go and help that person with some new clothing, food and the like. And whilst we have our not-for-profit sector that also supports that, I think it goes back to what you were saying, Michelle, is there something that we can do as local authorities, better educate the people in the suburbs on maybe not what to do and what to do? Because as the Minister said, we don't necessarily want everybody to stay in place. We want to try and help them get back on the ladder of life.
So thanks, great question. So I think part of it is following the evidence again, so knowing what works, and the Minister alluded to, housing first works. What we don't want to do is to set up structures and edifices in communities that make it very easy to be homeless and make it very difficult to get out of homelessness. So one of the great things is we've got a very mature homelessness services sector, not enough of that, and certainly not enough of that in the outer suburbs. And I think it's councils working in partnership and collaboration with the experts and understanding from them what works and what's needed, and linking those what we call goodwill groups. So there are a lot of community groups who aren't funded and their hearts are in the right place and they want to do the right thing. So working with services to make sure that we steer those goodwill groups in the right direction and that we align our effort towards ending homelessness, so people aren't just setting up maybe soup kitchens in parks or clothing distribution points, etc., that are not joined in with the sort of total effort to end homelessness. And that's where councils are magnificent, because you know your communities and you can do what you've done with your JWEG, bring the groups together, align everyone towards a plan like your fabulous plan that you've launched today, and then marshal effort. And you always get outliers, people that may want to do things and not really think about the consequence. It's more about them doing the doing than the person doing the receiving. So how you can channel that for good and align effort. And, councils are amazing at that when it's done well. And if I think about Mary Jane down in Rockingham, for example, I mentioned, really lack of services down there. So the council's got a working group with surrounding councils, worked out there was a need for outreach, partnered with the local salvos, I think it was, and fantastic outcome. If I think about Fremantle and St Pat's, a lot of people are new to homelessness because of the rental market. It's just nuts. They can't get affordable homes. And so St Pat's realised that some people felt very uncomfortable going to their centre. So they partnered with the City of Fremantle. They've got some social workers in the local library. It's really unobtrusive. People can just go in, talk to a social worker, they feel very destigmatized by doing that. Not that there's any stigma going to a service. And through that, St Pat's and the City of Fremantle are helping people to navigate the service system. So it's horses for courses. And what we're hoping with the hub is that, you know, it sparks some ideas. Oh, Freo's doing that, Rockingham's doing that, Derby West Kimberley's doing this. So it's a bit of a shopping list. And in terms of then, what could you do in your local community that aligns with your local strategic plan and the other sort of documents of council?
Probably just more of a personal perspective. I think I'm a big social media person. I think like every day I see on my local Buy Nothing group, someone is always going, I've got some spare, whatever, no, where can I give it to? I just picked up a really good document, I think, out there on the desk. I think it was a sort of Joondalup document where there's a really good list of providers and not-for-profit community group that's been outlined. So I think better communications around who is out there, who can provide what services, so people are not sort of shopping around going, you know, who can do what. I think that's really useful. I think the other part of it is hello. One of the things I think local government also does really well is to work with community, the community sector. So in my spare time, I chair the Pet Jail Centre for Non-Violence, which is in this region. And we all know that I think a big portion of homelessness causes actually around family domestic violence. So local government work with Pet Jail Centre really, really well. I think particularly shout out to City of Wanneroo. So I think working really well with your local community groups, providing with the resources, allowing them to connect with other agencies that can help, that's a really key part of it.
Thank you, Brett Treby. And again, Michelle, sorry. But if I can, yeah, just I'll be celebrating the Festival of Michelle for some time. And quite rightly, as was pointed out by the Minister, it's that negative media, it's that large article that provides a negative connotation to the issue and to a certain degree negates the positive work that's being done. What opportunities do you three see for WALGA, LGPro and Shelter WA and local government sector in coming together on the odd occasion to make sure that we can refocus those negative messages and come out with some positive messages about the good work that's being done, and to try and make sure that the community gets an understanding of the upside about what's being done to address the problem and work with the problem, as opposed to that one issue that gets brought up all the time. I think there's an opportunity for us to have that joint communication, joint messaging to really reinforce the positive points.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. I think the good news stories is what we need to get out there. So if we can, and I think the hub really helps by putting all of the information on the hub will really, and sharing of information for local governments is a really good way of getting things around. But I think there is opportunity for us to keep talking together and sell those good news stories whenever we can. We've all got various publications that we put out and various forums that we have. So the more we can do of that, the better.
Agree. But I think part of the challenge is we've seen in the past when local governments have highlighted amazing work that you do, sometimes you kind of get told by your community, get back into your box and that's your job, and you know, go and fix that pothole types of comments, which is not really helpful at all. So agree with Tony. I think we all try to do what we can do the best that we can to promote the wonderful work that local governments do within our own agency. But I think there's also a part where we need to continue to empower and enable local governments to tell their own good stories. I think sometimes it's easy to get sidetracked by the noises that tells you that you're not doing a good job. But I think you do see a lot of people defending local governments in saying that they are doing a good job, they are providing resources, they are supporting their communities. So there's plenty of good stories out there. They can be sidetracked, there's noises, but I would love to see more local governments promoting more of the work that they do, because yeah, I think there's just not enough good news stories out there.
Yep. we'd love to promote the work of local government. And on the hub, we've got a few videos of people with lived experience telling their stories about, you know, the impact of local government, you know, working with them and on helping them navigate the system and the outcomes. So I think it's bringing it back to people. Sometimes it can be a little bit abstract, but hearing from people on the magnificent change that local governments wrought in their lives is pretty good. I'd encourage any local governments to join Shelter WA. We've got more and more councils as members, and that's really building our capacity to work with the sector. We've got a formal MOU with LGPro and WALGA, so we might revisit the MOU post-hub to keep the conversation going. So I think there's lots of opportunities. And I didn't realise the Mayor of the City of Stirling was here, but I think when councils do amazing things like this out for consultation around the inclusionary zoning, it's really supporting councils doing the right thing. So certainly we're having conversations with the property sector about, you know, why we think it's a really fabulous policy. And I think, you know, the work we do, our advocacy work supporting councils is really important. Some of it's done behind the scenes, so you may not be aware of it, but where it can be public, just shouting it out.
Thank you. Yeah, my name's Kit and I've got lived experience of homelessness, and my focus is on recovery, complex trauma recovery, healing and well-being. I've got two questions about the regional homeless plan. I've not checked it out yet, but I'm curious, like, what's being done to remove the bureaucratic red tape for people who are experiencing homelessness in these areas and don't have any ID, and then, like, you know, the hoops that gotta be jumped through to try and access services without ID. And the second question is people experiencing homelessness with pets and like rentals that don't accept pets, and the different challenges with people experiencing homelessness and pets, and the many layers there.
Thanks, Kit. It's so nice to see you again. So on the first one, huge issue in terms of people experiencing homelessness and access to ID. I know there's a concerted effort by services to work in partnership with government to accelerate that. The Minister mentioned Housing First. Up in Geraldton, there was an ID clinic where Centrelink, communities, a whole lot of agencies were in the room, and what would have been maybe a 4-week process for someone was nailed in 40 minutes by having computers and the person there and just getting on with it. It's an ongoing issue, so we just need to see how that can happen. In terms of people experiencing homelessness and pets, disclaimer, I'm on the board of the RSPCA, and at the shelter in Malaga, we are seeing so many surrenders from people in the rental market who have to choose between a pet or a home, and it's just heartbreaking. So we do have reform of the Residential Tenancy Act underway, and we are just urging the government minister to, in terms of the reform process, to enable people to have pets as of right. We do know some properties aren't suitable for pets, and so there can be negotiations done, but pets first, and then if the property isn't suitable, then that's not the default. And we do know that landlords can charge a pet bond, so the concern about damage to properties can be mitigated through the pet bond, but the reform of the Residential Tenancy Act is critical. And in terms of people who are street present, I know that there is some magnificent work done by homeless healthcare and some of the outreach workers to look after those pets, but the challenge is a lot of the shelters aren't low barrier and pets aren't welcome. So it's an issue close to my heart, and we just need to think about our furry friends.
Quick plug for Cat Haven as well, who I used to be involved with. No, just quickly, I just want to quickly mention that Cat Haven also provides emergency boarding program for people either sleeping rough or needing to leave wherever environment they're in, and there might be other groups doing that as well. So it's always a good resource to rely on.
And thanks. Got a cat and a dog. Goldfish. Making sure you're not on some goldfish board. Look, I'd like to thank you all for attending today, and to thank our speakers once again. Congratulations. Oh, sorry. Okay, talk. Congratulate the cities of Joondalup and Wanneroo on the launch of the Regional Homelessness Plan, and to thank Lotterywest for supporting the project, and also the City of Joondalup for hosting us here today. I'd like to thank WALGA and LGPro for their partnership with Shelter WA to deliver the on hub. We hope you access and utilize those resources and tools as much as possible and build that library. And we hope that the hub will support local government to work with local communities and services in response to homelessness. It says here now that I'm going to invite you to join us in the foyer for Sundowner, but according to my watch, it's like lunchtime. But anyway, so I'd now like to invite you to join us in the foyer for Sundowner and networking. Thank you.